In today's meeting, I wanted to illuminate and explore with you this initial contraction, this contracted I. Maybe a few of you are aware of or have heard of the I thought. And the I thought is where any thought or any identification of yourself rises from. So ever since a young age, we have been bombarded and conditioned to study and memorize, as we were growing up, many objects to learn, all these labels. This is a ball, this is a house, this is a cat. All these objects were given labels, including to ourselves. At a young age, your parents were teaching you that you are, I am a male, I am a female, I am a girl, I am a boy, I'm a good girl, I'm a bad girl. As you were growing up, anything sports you were doing, started to identify with I am a gymnast, or I am a tennis player, or all of these. As we grew up, we have adopted as these labels put onto the true nature. So the true nature, the absolute nature or true being, has been really dimmed and overlapped since a young age with all these tags and labels of I am this and I am that. Thus, growing up, we became so further away than our true being. We have forgotten our true being and misidentified ourselves with all these labels, names, objects, misidentifying what we think we have become. Thus, all of that molds a certain identity. Of course, a certain identity is also different from one being to another according to their life experience. So your past life experience molds the I am this and that. So as you can see that every thing is built upon the I am. And all of this build up has really brought humanity very far away from their true self. Thus, now in this era of this time, many beings are becoming to realize that, suffering, any form of suffering, is because of a misidentification with whom we think we are. Thus, here there are no teachings as such. It is simply an unfolding, clearing, and removing all of the misidentifications. That is all that is really and truly happening. Revealing and revealing beyond all this misidentifications, revealing the truth of your absolute nature. Now, although through our life we became further and further away from the absolute self, though something deep down each and every one of us, everyone, has this same sense. There's a deep sense and even a deep longing which maybe not everyone would be aware of it, but still that longing, that searching can come up in many different ways. But if you dig deep, it is all the same longing and search. And that is to ultimately reach the ultimate goal, is to be truly free from suffering, is to be in pure bliss, which is having this joy and happiness and peace and tranquility and ease of being. So if we really dig deep, if we are truly honest, we come to see that every human being, there is the same longing and search, which is that to fulfill our ultimate goal, which will liberate you from limitations, from pain, from suffering. That is within each and every one, because it is natural. It is natural to be that. Something inside you already knows that. Thus, of course, navigating through the ego, navigating through that mind, through those identities, it's like being in a maze. It's like being in a labyrinth. It's like that's the only navigation of self-investigation, self-exploration, to only illuminate that which you are not, that which you have misidentified. Thus, your absolute nature continues to reveal itself back to you. Thus, you start more and more residing in that openness of your being. So coming to this I thought, and to take a few moments to reflect on yourself, on even how many times we speak from the I. It's so habitual for us. Even the way we communicate with others, with ourselves, there is always this I. I have thought it was like this. I think this is the way. I know it is like this. I behave like that. Anything that we describe and communicate, do you realize there's always this I in front of everything? And yet this I is seen as the core contraction of the birthing of thought form. Just to take a few moments to reflect on that I. And that I has a certain upward standing wave, it is called. It's a standing wave. There is a certain position. There's a certain position to that I. And most of the times, it's because of that I that we suffer. This I I'm speaking of today, it's the I that births from the thoughts. This I thought, it is called. The I that has a position. The I that is identity. Identity. That I identity is the greatest limitation that humanity has adopted. That I is, there's like 1,000 building blocks on that I. And every time that I is shaken, every time that I gets broken, you might have experienced like a death, like a sense of dying of some kind, like a deep loss, like a deep loss. Some might experience it as the carpet beneath you, which you stood so steadily on, has been taken away from you. Thus, there is no grounds now beneath you. So it can be experienced as someone has just pulled that carpet from beneath you, or a very deep sense of loss, and can be experienced as feeling broken, or even a feeling of dying. So if you have experienced something similar to this, that is a very clear indication that one of your eyes has been shaken. I'm giving you examples so that you can reflect on your own experience and that there is nothing wrong with you experiencing that. And actually, you come to realize that it is a true gift, because every time that I is shaken, it is a victory to your true essence of your being. Every time that is shaken up, every time that is surrendered, there's always a victory. Because the I, the ego, the mind, it wants to keep itself, it wants to hold its position, it wants to be identified, it wants to be valued, it wants to be seen, it wants to be heard. And that is why sometimes it feels as if it's a struggle, because the ego, it plays very hard to sustain itself. It wants to sustain itself. It does anything to sustain itself. So as we start unwinding this conditioning, as we start unwinding these beliefs we have adopted of whom we thought we are, it can feel, or you can be experiencing a lot of turmoil, a lot of challenges. But know that once you truly see the I, that initial contraction, as what it is and how it tries to fight for its presence to take that place inside of you, as soon as you start surrendering that, trusting the unknown, trusting the unknown, you start softening and melting away this initial contraction. This initial contraction is also found in our heart on the right, in Amrita Nadi. That is like where the channel of consciousness gets twisted and blocked. That's where we hold the misidentification. So it's actually from the heart, it rises to the mind. So just to break it down a bit, this process, at first, when one steps into some form of spiritual practice, one starts to become aware of these thoughts passing in front of us, like a stream of water, isn't it? We start to become aware. There are thoughts here and that. Yes, these thoughts need to start slowing down. They need to start becoming a bit more maintained. You start cultivating meditation practices so that you can start regulating yourselves. The thoughts start to slow down. You start less and less identifying with these random habitual thoughts. And that becomes a good practice until whatever thoughts are just flowing in front, just let them be and they're not bothering you anymore. Then we shift down into the heart and we start opening the heart. We start dropping all these protection barriers that the heart, the ego, has actually built around the purity of our hearts. thinking it's going to protect itself from more pain and suffering. Thus, on the other hand, we experience more pain and suffering because our nature of our heart is intended to be open and not blocked and fearful and protected with all these layers of barriers. So then we start to trust ourselves. We start to open our hearts. We start to transform fears into love, into lightness. We start to give way to the heart, isn't it? To open the heart up. And then a beautiful coherence takes place here from the heart to the mind, because the heart starts to encompass our mind. Thus our minds become softer, becomes more easier to negotiate with. It gives way, it does give way. Though still you will find certain weaknesses which, when certain experiences happen, you get triggered and really affected. Though these are good experiences too, because they're moments of healing, they're moments of clearing any past residue from your being. Thus, more and more the consciousness flowers within you. So thus it is a gift, no matter what is experienced in your experience. In deeper levels or higher levels of consciousness, you come to see that the birthing of the I, the birthing of the separation, because I is a separation already. The I itself is separate from the absolute, is separate from the totality of our purity of being. Thus the I rises and instantly there is separation, meaning instantly there is suffering. That I rises from the heart and it shoots up into our head. So the rising, it's the initial core contraction. It comes from the heart and it shoots up into the head, this I thought, this I identity. So now if we explore beyond this I, how would that be? How would that be? How would that look like? How would you experience yourself beyond the I? It's like saying to you, how would it be to you to experience yourself beyond your name, beyond your history, beyond any labels that you've put onto your history up till now? What if there was no name? What if there was no history? Who would you be? Who would you be beyond the limitation of the I? It's like saying, who are you before any sound appears, who are you before any sight appears? Who are you beyond any label, tag, name of any kind? Who are you beyond your past, beyond your present, beyond your future? Because in all those three time frames, the I exists in those time frames. Also, you can inquire and investigate in this moment. You can reverse the mechanism. You can reverse the mechanism from, okay, I am not this body only, then who am I? If I am not these thoughts that constantly come and go and change, if I am not these thoughts, then who am I? If I am not these emotions, then who am I? If I am not these senses, then who am I? If I am not these energies, if I am not these chakras, if I am not this Kundalini force, then who am I? If I am not this space, if I am not these sounds, then who am I? And I invite you to sense what is present in your experience, what is being revealed to you as we are practicing this exercise. Do you feel lighter, for example? Do you feel a certain openness? What is in your experience? Is there a sense of expansion? Is there no borders? Because what defines a border of what? Is there a certain resonance? of knowing what is in your experience, what is being experienced effortlessly. Of course, during this exercise, the I might arise, which is okay. And you see the I rising. As long as you see it rising, as long as you feel that initial contraction rising, it is now in your awareness. It is now in your loving awareness. In your loving awareness, anything is welcomed. If you are in your loving awareness, anything is welcomed.